Welcome back to another episode of So You're Ready to Date. And typically, we have been discussing relationships where there's this potential to see the person on a fairly regular basis. But now we're going to expand that and start talking about long distance relationships. Because as nice as it would be to be in the same town, the same state, maybe even in the same part of the country, we know that sometimes relationships have long distances for whatever reason. Maybe you met on vacation and flew to your new spots. Maybe you met online through school, whatever, however you met your special someone. There is a way to have a successful long distance relationship and to hopefully still kind of grow that love, that trust, that intimacy, regardless of how many miles separate the two of you. So, this is going to be a fun topic. Maybe you're not in a long distance relationship, but maybe at some point one of you has to travel for work or for family or for whatever it is. So, this is going to be one that everybody, I think, can use at some point.
I yes, I think everybody can use it because whether you travel frequently or not, we're going to be talking about some really fun date ideas, virtual date ideas, talking about maybe some ways to spark that intimacy when you're apart, which even if you're across town, you could still probably use some of these tips and tricks. So I think that'll be fun. Maybe we'll start off a little bit tame. And how do you have a date with somebody who isn't with you?
Oh, yeah. You just can't run to the coffee shop, say, hey, let's grab a coffee or let's grab a drink. Okay, well.
Exactly. But I'm going to say that you actually can do that. Go on a video chat and go to a coffee shop together and sit at a coffee shop and drink your coffee and put your headphones in and have that conversation on a video chat. And you can go on a coffee date with somebody who is not even in the same state as you or part of the country, whatever.
This is one of those times where, like, oh my gosh, how has technology helped have a long distance relationship? Because we're no longer in that time period of you have to write letters, wait weeks in between correspondence, and, longingly hope for that. The post to come and it has that special letter. Like, no, you can instantaneously be in contact with your special someone, and how amazing it is that you can have that daily interaction wherever you really are.
Right. And you can use that. And that's going to be the basis for a lot of these date ideas, right? Because how else are you going to connect with somebody who is not there with you? Other than to pull up and have a video chat or a phone conversation with them, whether on your phone or on your computer, whether it's a Zoom call, whatever that is. But you can use that face to face over Zoom as the basis for doing a lot of things and having a lot of experiences together. So think about it. There are virtual tours of museums, and you can go on a virtual tour of a museum together. There are some concerts that are posted online. You can get online, you can be on Zoom and pull it up and watch a concert together. You could sit and have your significant other on the phone with you, and you could both put on the same movie and be watching a movie at the same time in different spaces together. So you could still talk and have that movie and going and have a conversation before, during, after the movie if you're doing it sitting in your house. So lots of different ways to incorporate using this technology to help you have dates when you're not together.
I was gonna say, I think there's even like app extensions and stuff like that where you can watch the same movie at the same time via something. Because I think Amazon does like a watch party, and Netflix did at one time, but they're cracking down on stuff like sharing. But also, buying the same ingredients to make a dinner together. So you're cooking it in your place, they're cooking it in their place. I suppose you could make the same thing, or this is the prime opportunity. Like, you like spaghetti, he doesn't. You make what you want to eat, and then you get to sit down and have a candlelit dinner together. So, while yes, it's not the same as being face to face, you still get to see the person. And I think that is one of the beauties of this technology, is that you get to look into their eyes, you get to see their facial expressions, you get to have the essence of them in the date when you can't have that person right there in front of you.
Right, pulling that energy into your space to be there with them and have that conversation. And if it's just you and them, you can have a conversation just like you're sitting right across from them, even if you're not.
I mean, we've kept it pretty PG, but there's no reason why it can't get PG-13 R, a little more than R. Using technology responsibly in whatever way feels the most organic and natural in your relationship as well.
Which I think that that's interesting and kind of going to dive into the next thing. One of the things that you can do to stay connected in between dates is sending pictures to your significant other, and whether those pictures are of the pretty flower that you saw outside while you were on a walk together or not together, all the way to pictures alluding to sexy time, whether you are going to do that virtually or whether you're going to wait till you get in person. You can always send those teasing photos and have that be a part of the relationship that you are establishing long distance.
And I think that all comes to that comfort level as well. And I think, like you said, it's good to share those like mundane parts of your day. Sharing, like, here's what I had for lunch. I tried that restaurant we have been talking about. Or, hey, I saw that this band is coming. Here's a screenshot of whatever it is. And that is kind of how you stay connected. Because when you're in town, it's sometimes easier to be like, oh, yeah, I saw this. Hey, you want to go do this? But yeah, I want to sometimes hear about the mundane parts of your day that you know, found a penny on the sidewalk, whatever it is, so that it feels like I'm as much a part of your day to day as I could be from wherever I am.
Which is going to lead into, if you're sharing your day, it's important to have things to share. I mean, if you don't leave the house and you are just sitting here waiting for your significant other to come back or to come visit, that makes for kind of drab conversation, and it makes it really hard to keep that communication open. Go have a life. Go do the things that you enjoy. Explore different hobbies and activities, or if you already know what your hobbies and activities are, then you are very fortunate and you should go do all of those things and spend time with your friends, make new friends, spend time doing those hobbies and those different things that you like, so that there is topic for conversation when you do actually talk, whether that be over the phone, whether that be video chat, or whether that be when they arrive in person or you go visit them, however that looks.
Well, and I think for me, it would make the time in between our visits feel shorter, because I'm not just, like you said, sitting and waiting on this endless time to be done so that we see each other next. Like, no, I'm out there busy living my life so that I don't think about maybe how many weeks, how many months it is between our next visits. And I think that it brings something when they come visit you. Like, I got to show you this cool game store that I found, or I have to show you. So then it feels like you've got stuff that you can go do and be active, and them really feel like they're being enmeshed into your life, because you get to show them what's made you so excited and what you've been talking about nonstop to them. And now they get to experience it for themselves.
And remember to have fun through this process, whether it is with your partner on the other end of the line, which totally you want to keep things fun when you are not talking every day and not having conversations every day. But you also want to have fun when you are in person, and you want to have fun when you're not together, so that you have fun things to talk about. We just talked about going out and doing something, and that's great if your passion is something that may not be construed as fun by other people. But I think it's important to have those fun, flirty things that you can talk about too, to keep the other party interested, because as a general rule, we want to feel good. Humans want to feel good, and having fun makes us feel good. So I think it's important to incorporate a level of fun into your personal life, even if you are not together with your significant other.
And I kind of wanted to point out a bit too, like, nobody's requiring that you be in like constant contact with this person. I think there's this idea that you have to be texting like all day, every day, because we have this technology. If that's not how your relationship is, maybe you do like a check-in in the morning, maybe, and then a longer check-in at night. Finding what works for you communication wise, that might free up some things to talk about because you're not trying to talk about everything all day long. So maybe you're just doing these check-ins, you're like saving stuff for like a really big conversation that you have on the weekends or on a particular time when you've set aside to be like, this is our night. We have a 2-hour call. We get a chance to really dive in and connect, but don't let it be that you feel like you have to always be in contact just because you're farther apart. Finding that style, that rhythm, that pace of communication that works for you is ultimately going to help you have the relationship that you want.
And having a little bit of a break and letting that other person have their experiences while you're having your experiences when you come together gives you more to talk about and keeps that conversation interesting. So I like what you said there, that you don't have to be in constant contact. And sometimes in the beginning of a relationship, it can be hard to have that discipline and set that rhythm that's going to work well for you long term. But if you think about what you really want long term as far as communication style and how you want to communicate in your relationship and setting some of those boundaries up front and offering that room to breathe, that will help build that trust and will build a sustainable rhythm that you'll be happy with and can have that satisfied relationship with.
Because I'll be honest, sometimes I even ask myself now, I'm like, am I thinking that I need to text the guy I'm dating because it's been too long and I'm supposed to be doing this? Or do I have really something to say? I mean, sometimes, checking in with yourself, I'm like, am I doing this because I feel some sort of need and obligation? Or am I doing this because I generally want to see what's going on or see how they're doing or see how their day is going? Or is it, not that you can necessarily tell, but again, asking yourself, am I ready to check in with them? If not, then giving it some time, but letting it evolve into what you want it to be, not what you think it's supposed to be.
I like that. We didn't hit on that last week, but really, I like the fact that we hit on that so much because I think it's important that we all let our relationships evolve into what we want them to look at versus look like, instead of what we think they should look like, because that's the norm and that's what society expects, that's what our family expects, and that's what we expect because it's all we've ever seen or ever known. That doesn't make it right. That just means that we haven't known anything different, but we have the ability to break that mold. And we can do that whether we are next to each other or halfway across the country from each other.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that might feel like a struggle is maintaining or maybe even creating more intimacy with each other, because it feels like there are certain conversations that only should be face to face, only in person. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I don't think we need to pause being vulnerable and, emotional and in touch with our partners outside of like only being together. So finding those ways that you can start to have those like deeper conversations so that you still are kind of building and growing the relationship outside of the times that you happen to be together.
And a lot of those deeper conversations that you're talking about, they don't always, we spend a lot of time talking about setting boundaries, setting expectations, and those are important too. But some of those deeper conversations can be about hopes, dreams, what you want in the future. Let's design a dream house together if you are at that point where you're thinking about something like that. Or, what is this going to look like in 5 months? Or maybe the next time we get together, what are all the fun things that we're going to do? And we can connect on those levels too and find those common interests while keeping it fun and flirty and really getting to know our partner on a deeper level just from that aspect, because we are keeping it fun, but we're getting to know what's fun about their personalities.
Right. And I don't ever discount the excitement of like a care package. It's just kind of, I remember like being in college and getting the notification in my mailbox that I had a package, knowing it was from my mom, and be like, oh my gosh. So that can be a really great way for you to like either share parts of you and what's going on with the other person, or sending things that that they like. One of the things, my boyfriend is in town, but I still did this because I love the idea. And I think it's something that you see a lot for long distance relationships, is creating cards that are open when. So open when you're happy, you're sad, you need encouragement, you miss me. There's a go on to Pinterest. There are tons and tons of ideas, but sending those cards and being like, hey, here's a little bit of me. If you need encouragement for a day, find this card, writing a super sweet note, maybe spritzing some of your perfume on there, finding those ways where you can be a support for them whenever and however they might need, and not having to do that over a text or over a call. But there's something about that handwritten letter, seeing somebody's handwriting, that's just kind of like, ooh, that's special.
And putting that in a care package is kind of a fun idea, but let's say that that's not you, right? Some of us aren't built to go out and think like that, or to be creative, like putting the cards together. Just drop a handwritten postcard in the mail. Just a, hey, I'm thinking about you. I was here and you crossed my mind. Something that short and sweet, and dropping a postcard in the mail, because that's an unexpected surprise in the mailbox that's just going to make your significant other think of you without you being there, and is going to strengthen that bond, right? You want to think about them, think about how you would feel if you got something like that in the mail. It just brightens everyone's day and keeps you guys thinking of each other.
Well, who doesn't love mail that's not a bill? I mean, really. And really using the technology, you can be thousands of miles away and still DoorDash Starbucks to your special someone. You can still DoorDash dinner or Uber Eats or whatever it is. That can be a fun way to say, hey, I know you had a rough day. Maybe I'm not good at the care packages, but I just sent you your favorite Chinese dinner. So I hope you have a better evening. So using technology in all of its glory to your advantage to like surprise. So it doesn't have to just be flowers. It can be sending coffee to work, sending their favorite pastries, whatever it is, but use that technology to just let that person know that you're thinking of them.
Yes, I love that. And so we've been talking about a lot of different ideas to keep things new and fresh and interesting and connected when you guys are not together. But we haven't really talked about how long distance relationships come to a close. And maybe it won't, right? Some people, I know people who are married and have houses in different states. That happens. And that can be a solution, but that's not for everybody, right? Most of us eventually want to be with our significant other a larger percentage of time than one weekend a month. So, one of the things to think about is to have a conversation when you start out on a long distance relationship. Is there an end date that will make it easier to move through this stage of life, stage of your relationship, is knowing that there's an end date to look forward to? And is that you moving to them? Is that them moving to you? What does that plan look like? It doesn't mean it can't grow and evolve. It doesn't mean that it can't change, because things do change. But having that idea can sometimes make a long distance relationship feel better, more solid, more stable, and can help build that up.
That idea of knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and at some point we're either going to be in the same city or in the same house, and that you have 24/7 access to said person, but the idea of like, okay, this is temporary, we can figure it out until then, but that having the fun of planning, when this end date finally hits, think of all the fun stuff we get to do.
And that's also fun too, that anticipation and building up to what that would look like and what life looks like. And so there's some conversations that can be had around that. Now, not saying that you should be longingly waiting for that date and pining over that date. Don't be sitting at home doing nothing. Go out with your friends, go out and have some fun, go make plans, do all of that other stuff. But again, knowing that there is some sort of date can give you some stuff to look forward to. It can give you some tools to plan. And for some of us, can even help reduce some of that anxiety because we have a plan, and some of us just need a plan.
Right. I am going to raise my hand on that. Is the more I kind of know, do I need to have all the answers? No, but sometimes just having that framework of it's going to be summer of 2024, or just knowing that, yes, we're working towards this specific goal, and that's us being together. And I think some of that can kind of help like that trust aspect, because we haven't quite touched on the fact about how much trust is required in all relationships, but it feels like maybe that little added bit more when you aren't necessarily in the same area, and trusting that you're still both on the same page, you're still both working towards similar goals, and knowing that having that end date for me would definitely be something like, okay, I can, my insecurities can step back a little bit, my anxiety can step back a little bit, and I can focus on still being the wonderful, awesome me I am, and still being that wonderful partner that I know that my person deserves.
I like that too. Showing up as the partner that you want to have in a relationship is important. And we've touched on that before. But also, I think you talked about something with the trust, right? I think building trust in a relationship is the foundation of any solid relationship, is that trust factor. So you also have to think, if you want that relationship to be successful, is there trust in your relationship? And if there isn't, that's probably something a little bit bigger that you need to look at, whether that is something that you need to step back and work on for yourself, or whether that is specific to this relationship, but was not an issue in past relationships. Maybe this isn't the relationship for you if there are some trust issues, but working on how you can build trust in your relationship and being honest about where you are in that process for yourself will help you facilitate a long distance relationship more easily if that trust is there.
Well, you brought up a good point, being honest with yourself. There's no shame in saying, hey, I just can't do long distance relationships. It's just not for me. And knowing that about yourself, not, again, we're not using that always never language and trying to avoid that in this situation as well. But if you know that it just doesn't sit right with you, then maybe it's something that you have to actively avoid. And there's nothing wrong with, meeting someone saying, hey, I like you, but I don't do long distance relationships. And again, you don't have to elaborate the reasons, but, being honest with yourself about what you do and don't want in a relationship, and then sticking to that.
Yeah, and a clean break. Remember, you don't have to elaborate on anything. You don't owe an explanation beyond the fact that, hey, this isn't going to work for me. It's not working for me, whatever that situation may be. So remember, you don't owe a further explanation to anybody on your feelings, because you are allowed to feel and make decisions for yourself based on who you are and what you need. Now, if you do want to give it a try and you haven't been able to give it a try before, but you have this person that your dream person, your dream partner, they are exactly right for you, you know that, but they are going to be a long ways away for the next 6 months, you could also put it off and pick up dating when they get back. Or you could give some of these tips and tricks that we've talked about here for long distance relationships a try, and maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit. It's always right. Everything we want is on the other side of our comfort zone.
So if there was anything that we missed, so for all of you long distance relationship veterans, because I know there's got to be some of you out there like, yep, been there, done that for way too long. If you have tips or tricks on what has worked for you, we're always open to more suggestions, because I think there's still plenty we could talk about on this topic, but this was just the intro course, like long distance relationships 101. Or if you've want more information, is there something more that we need to be talking about when it comes to relationships, in person, in town, or long distance or otherwise? The emails are always open at soyou'readytodate@gmail.com. We're welcome any and all feedback and ideas, because we want to make this podcast accessible to you and what you guys want to listen to. So please let us know all of your stories, experiences, and questions.
And we will see you next week with another great episode.